Hey guys, so today's video is going to be my eyebrow routine. So without any further ado, let's just get into it. I'm going to zoom you in so I can fill in my brows while you watch. Okay guys, don't mind my lash glue drying. I'm also filming a makeup tutorial right now, which will probably go up before this one does. So I'll probably link that below. The first thing I do is take a spoolie and just brush through my brows. And this isn't going to be like how I maintain my brows or anything. This is really just going to be how I fill them in. But usually to maintain them, I just pluck them myself. So if I were plucking them, I would brush them all the way up, trim them first, because you would be surprised how much of a difference trimming your brows will make. It'll just make them look so much neater, so much nicer, and just easier to manage, because when they're long and crazy, it's kind of hard to like fill them in because they're going everywhere. But I trim them with like small-ish scissors. They're over there, but like small scissors. Brush them up, and then anything above your brow shape you would just trim. And then also for plucking, I just pluck any spare hairs that are like not in the brow shape that I want. But after you brush them out with a spoolie, first I will take the Jordana FabuBrow pencil. This is in the color Taupe, and it's only like a few dollars, and it's actually awesome. So what I do first is I just take the pencil and kind of outline my natural brow shape. I'm going like slightly like to the very edge, so it makes them look thicker, because you're outlining and you're like filling in any sparse areas on the outer edge, which is going to make them look thicker. And I'm just following my natural brow shape. So I'm just kind of making a straight line up here, and then when it gets to the arch, I'm rounding it out. I don't want like a crazy point up there. I just kind of want them to be rounded. So that's one brow, and now I'm going to do the same to the other brow. And don't worry if your brows aren't the same shape. They're actually like not supposed to be. But I'm just kind of making them as even as possible. So once I get to this arch over here, I'm going to round it out. And under here is really where I need the most definition, because on the bottom is where my eyebrows like aren't very thick. Even though as a whole my eyebrows are pretty darn thick. Good thing good big brows came back in style, because when I was younger, I used to get made fun of all the time. YOLO though, I don't care what people say. So just fill them in. At the end, you kind of want a sharp pencil, but we can fix that with like an angled brush and powder. So once that is in there, I'm going to take my spoolie again. And kind of brush it through. That way you don't have any super harsh lines. And then my favorite brush to use powder. My favorite brush for my brow powder is this angled angled liner brush, but it's bigger than other angled liner brushes. That's why I like it, because I have pretty big brows. And then the powder I'm going to use is the Anastasia Brow Powder Duo in medium brown. And it has two different shades. The lighter shade I take in the front of my brow, and then the darker shade is for the tail, because you want the front of your brow to be lighter than the tail. So I'm just basically taking the powder and filling in, kind of going upwards, the rest of the brow. Also, if that pencil got too blended out, you can take it in a straight line to kind of redefine it. And then for the outer half, I take the darker shade and do the same thing basically. And I also take the darker shade at the very end and like make it as thinned out at the end as possible. And then anywhere that the pencil didn't completely cover, I'll go back and fill in those areas. There you go, that's one brow almost done. And then doing the other one, once again the front gets the lighter shade. And then the tail gets the darker shade. And now, because I like a very, very crisp brow, I'm going to go back and, well, I'm first going to run through with a spoolie. And then I'm going to set them. My favorite brow gel is the Chella Brow Gel. I got this in a glam bag a long time ago. So I'm just going to run that through. This is going to keep your brows in place. And also just like you get to manipulate them and have the hairs like stand where you want. And then my favorite thing to carve out my brows is this TheBalm concealer from TheBalm. And then this e.l.f. like flat definer brush. And I just dip it in. And then basically go around my entire brow. This concealer basically matches my skin tone, but if you do want a more highlighted brow, you could take a concealer that's a shade or two lighter. I wouldn't recommend going any lighter than that because then you'll look like a crazy freak. But, you know. So I just take this around the entire brow. This is going to help hide any spare hairs that you may not have gotten to pluck, and it's also just going to make your brow just look a lot more clean and defined. Here. Okay. I don't really take any in here. Maybe like whatever's left on the brush right here, but I don't really need it. I already have like foundation down there and stuff. So, once that is on, I usually take like a little concealer blendy brush and blend out the edges just because you don't want it to look like a crazy line. For in here, I'll use my finger because I don't want, this brush is kind of too big to fit in there without ruining my eyeshadow. And then I'll go in with some powder and a beauty blender and kind of take it over the whole eyebrow. I don't know if that's the right thing to do or not, but that's what I do. And that's basically it for my brows. I also sometimes take like this Chella lace ivory lace highlighter pencil, and I'll take it right under the brow as like a highlighter. I do like this stuff a lot. Blend that out with my finger. Ooh. And that's basically it for my brow routine. My other tips for having like nice brows, say your brows aren't the shape you want them to be, or you want them to be thicker or whatever, I would say just don't do anything to them for like 2 or 3 weeks. You need to let them grow out so that you have more hair to work with when you do reshape them, because if you have no hair, there's nothing you can do. Like, you don't want to look like a weirdo with like all penciled in brows. You want your real brows to just be enhanced by this stuff. So that's my tip if you want your brows to be a certain shape. But for the most part, I would say just embrace your natural shape. Not everybody has, like, my brows are more rounded. Some people have more angular brows. Some people have straight brows. Just work with what you got. You have it because it fits your face. So honestly, if you changed your brow shape, you might look a little weird. So that's it for my brow routine. I'll link the tutorial for this look down below, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye guys.